Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Today we took, just a few minutes back, we took one old vision volume. When we opened, after a few pages, the article, "You are not the body," by the Rev. Prabhupada, came. You are not the body. Otherwise, you would not say my body. When you say my body, it clearly shows that you are not the body, but that the body is possessed by you. Still, you identify yourself with the body, your possession. And when anything happens to it, you foolishly think that it happens to you. The great Stoic philosopher, Epictetus, was a slave of the Roman emperor. Once he was harshly punished by his master for some mistake. He was beaten so severely that his leg was fractured and he became lame. Some days after, a friend of Epictetus, finding him limping, asked him how he became lame. Then he replied, "I am not lame. Only my leg is lame." The philosopher's detachment from the body was so perfect that he never thought what happened to it had anything to do with him. He did not identify himself with the body. This is true also of the bodies of others. It is quite natural that one should grieve over the death of one's dear relation. The outburst of sorrow at the outset is indeed very difficult to control. But to give oneself over to continual grief is utterly improper. God has gifted us with reason. We have to use it to the best advantage for having right knowledge and eradicating sorrow from our hearts. Death is, after all, a common thing in the world. It is only the physical body that disintegrates in death. Spirit is immortal. Forms are subject to change. What is inevitable has to be bravely endured. Change and dissolution are in the very order of the universe. Death does not spare anybody. Young or old, rich or poor, good or bad, in this transient play of nature. Every loss or misfortune has its invaluable use. In that, it helps us to awaken us to the ephemeral nature of all manifest existence and direct our attention to the immutable and immortal reality. Let us never forget the object of this blessed human life. It is intended only for realizing the eternal. Ours is to utilize every experience, present or unpleasant, which we get in this life for diverting the mind from the external attractions of the world to the all-blissful, ever-existent Atman within us. Let us also remember that our own bodies have to perish someday. None here is our true relation in any sense of the term. We have brought none with us at our birth. We shall take no one from here with us at our death. The one and only true relation from whom there could never be any separation is the great God who is seated within us. Our devotion to God must be perfectly nishkama, motiveless.
The mind also can accompany a great friend. That Vedanta will go away. They are not living there. They are also separate.
According to Shastra, the subtle body does not die. Subtle body means Panchaprana Mano Buddhi. The Shendriya Sanamita. According to Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as soon as this body is dropped, before this body is dropped, we would have ordered for our next body to work out our plan. So long as the me and mine are there, according to the Shastra, we have to keep on coming and going. Once we are awakened by God's grace, through Shastras or through Mahatma, we slowly start thinking about it. What is it that I have enjoyed during this life? There is no sustaining happiness. So we slowly start moving towards that which always stays. And even if we are not in a position to complete it in this, we have been promised that it will not go in vain. Then that is why we come in contact with again Mahatma, we take the inward journey, and somehow there is no personal desire left, no vasana left. Then when the body is dropped, the entire thing merges with death. This is what we have been told. So we have faith in the words of our masters and Shrutis, our text, Shastra. So let us all try. Let us all try. So here our job is now to think about him more and more. When we think about him more and more, let us also remember that our own bodies have to perish. Now none here is our true relation in any sense of the term. The one and only true relation from whom there could never be any separation is the great God who is seated within us. Happiness and misery are after all changing states of mind. They have no real existence. By self-dedication, one has to transcend this fickle mind and dwell in the inner peace of the eternal. So let us make use of this precious life for directing our mind entirely towards God. By this alone, we can have real happiness and peace. We have been hearing so many things about all these things, but still we are there where we are. No? We will keep on trying. So when Prabhupada says that our mind should be filled with the thought of God alone, let us make use of this precious life for directing our mind entirely towards God. So Gandhiji says in simple words, he says, Is mic necessary?
You don't have to have one.
The absolute truth, the eternal principle, that is God. There are innumerable definitions of God because His manifestations are innumerable. They overwhelm me with wonder and awe, and for a moment stun me, but I worship God as truth only. To me, God is truth and love. God is ethics and morality. God is fearlessness. God is the source of light and life. Yet, He is above and beyond all these. God is conscience. He is ever the atheism of the atheists. For in His boundless love, God permits the atheist to live. He is the searcher of the hearts. And when you read something, it's a problem. You have some system by which this can be avoided. To me, God is love. To me, God is truth and love. God is ethics and morality. God is fearlessness. God is the source of light and life. Light means awareness. God is conscience. God is even the atheism of the atheists. God permits the atheist to live. He is the searcher of the hearts. He knows us and our hearts better than we do ourselves. He is personal God to those who need His personal presence. He is embodied to those who need His touch. He is the purest essence. He is to those who have faith. He is all things to all men. The word Satya, God is Satchit Ananda. The word Satya is derived from Sat, which means being. And nothing is or exists in reality except truth. That is why Sat or truth is perhaps the most important name of God. In fact, it is more correct to say truth is God than to say God is truth. And where there is truth, there is also knowledge, which is true. Where there is no truth, there can be no true knowledge. That is why the word Chit or knowledge is associated with the name of God. And where there is true knowledge, there is always bliss, Ananda. Sorrow has no place there. And even as truth is eternal, so is the bliss derived from it. Hence we know God as Satchit Ananda, one who combines in himself truth, knowledge and bliss. God is an idea, law himself. He and his law abide everywhere and govern everything. Therefore, though I do not think that he answers in every detail every question of ours, there is no doubt that he rules our actions, and I literally believe that not a blade of grass grows or moves without his will. I do feel that there is orderliness in the universe. There is an unalterable law governing everything and every being. I do feel there is orderliness in the universe. There is an unalterable law governing everything and every being that lives and moves. It is not a blind law. For no blind law can govern the conduct of living beings. The law and the lawgiver are one. I may not deny the law or lawgiver because I know so little about it or him. Even as my denial or ignorance of the existence of an earthly power will avail nothing, so will not my denial of God and His law liberate me from its operation. Whereas humble and mute acceptance of divine authority makes life journey easier, even as acceptance of earthly rule makes life under it easier.
Divine order of the world. Yes, divine order of the world.
Divine order.
Lead our divine our deed of our body. All they arise.
God is even the whole world. God is, even though the whole world deny Him. God embraces not only this tiny globe of ours, but millions and billions of such globes. How can we, little crawling creatures, so utterly helpless as He has made us, how could we possibly measure His greatness, His boundless love, His infinite compassion? So great is His infinite love and pity that He allows man to deny Him, wrangle about Him, cut the throats of His fellow men. How can we measure the greatness of God, who is so forgiving, who is so divine? He allows us freedom, yet His compassion commands obedience to His will. But if any one of us disdains to go to His will, if we refuse to, He says, so be it. My sun will shine no less for thee. My clouds will rain no less for thee. I need not force thee to accept my sway. For such a God, let the ignorant dispute the existence. I am one of the millions of wise men who believe in Him, and I am never tired of going to Him and singing His glory. God is the hardest taskmaster I have ever known on earth. He tries you through and through. And even when you find your faith is failing, or your body is failing you, and you are thinking, He comes to your assistance somehow, and proves to you that you must not lose your faith, that He is always at your beck and call, but on His terms. So I have found, I cannot recall a single instance when, at the 11th hour, He has forsaken me. There is only one omnipotent, omnipresent God. He is named variously, and we remember Him by the name which is most familiar to us. Each person can choose the name that appeals most to him. God means the same. God has 1,000 names, or rather He is nameless. We may worship or pray to Him by whichever name that pleases us. All worship the same Spirit. But as all foods do not agree with all names do not appeal to all. Each chooses the name according to his association, and He, being the indweller, knows our inmost feelings and responds to us according to our desires. Man can only conceive God within the limitation of his own mind. What matters then whether one man worships God as a person, another as a force? Both do right according to their lives. One need only remember that God is the force among all the forces. All other forces are material, but God is the vital force or spirit which is all-pervading, all-embracing, and therefore beyond human ken. God is not a person. To affirm that He descends to earth every now and again in the form of a human being is a partial truth, which merely signifies that such a person lives near to God, inasmuch as God is omnipresent. He dwells within every human being, and all may therefore be said to be incarnations of Him. We may not be God, but we are of God. Even as a little drop of water is of the ocean. Imagine it thrown away from the ocean and flung millions of miles away. It becomes helpless, torn from its surroundings, cannot feel the might and majesty of the ocean. But if someone could point out to it that it is at the ocean, his faith would revive. That is what exactly is the purpose of satsang, or meeting of a sage or going through the scriptures. Because here he says the drop has to be reminded that where from it comes. It becomes helpless, torn from its surroundings, cannot feel the might and majesty of the ocean. But if someone could point out to it that it is the ocean, its faith would revive. It would dance with joy, and the whole of the might and majesty of the ocean would be reflected in it. Man alone is made in the image of God. That some of us do not recognize the status of ours makes no difference, except that we do not get benefit of the status. Even as a lion brought up in the company of a sheep may not know his own status and therefore does not receive its benefits, but it belongs to him. Nevertheless, and the moment he realizes it, he begins to exercise his dominion over the sheep. Now he comes to know. Our existence as embodied beings is purely momentary. What are 100 years in eternity? But if we shatter the chains of egotism and melt into the ocean of humanity, we share its dignity. To feel that we are something is to set up a barrier between God and ourselves. To cease feeling that we are something is to become one with God. To feel that we are something is to set up a barrier between God and ourselves. To cease feeling that we are something is to become one with God. The drop in the ocean partakes of the greatness of its parent, although it is unconscious of it. But it is dried up as soon as it enters upon an existence independent of the ocean. We do not exaggerate when we say that life is a bubble. It is as clear to me as daylight that life and death are but faces of the same thing, the reverse and the obverse of the same coin. In fact, tribulation and death seem to me to present a face far richer than happiness or life. What is life worth without trials or tribulations, which are the salt of life? I want you all to treasure death and suffering. I want you all to treasure death and suffering more than life and to appreciate their cleansing and purifying character. The body must suffer for its ill deeds. We die to live once more, even as we live to die at last. Life, therefore, is not an occasion for joy, nor is death an occasion for sorrow. But there is one thing needful. We must ascertain our duty in life, continue to discharge it till we die. Death is at any time blessed, but it is twice blessed for a warrior who dies for his cause. The purpose of going through all these words, not tall talk. Gandhiji's words are simple. The impersonal aspect is highly, beautifully brought out. These are all something on which you have to contemplate, no doubt. But when he says he is personal to those who come in, who want that in the personal form, he is impersonal to those who would like to have it in that form. Easy for us to understand. Because we remember so many Bhaktotama. When they paid the price, just now he said, at his terms, not on our terms. So when they paid the price in the form of exclusive remembrance, they were all blessed with the personal aspect, personal form. And those who went beyond that form, they were also blessed with that. That's why when defining Ramana Papa would say, Prakriti Purushottam, he is dynamic and static and beyond. He did not say only beyond.
Both and beyond.
So that means they are there. You have to accept them as they are. But he is beyond. He is also in the form of static and the dynamic. So that means the whole world before us, we don't have to rule it out. These are some of the ways by which we can keep up this God remembrance. God remembrance is a must, because he says, so let us make use of this precious life for directing our minds entirely towards God. By this alone, we can have real happiness and peace. So how to direct? When we are asked to chant, the mind may go, but we have to still chant. Initially the mind may go, no doubt, because we are not exclusively sitting for remembrance. So in order to support us, Papa strongly suggests that we should dwell on the attributes. That is why we are reading all this. Anything which is appealing to us, anything to which we get aligned, that we can pick up. Omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, it may be tall words. But simple faith, he is life, he is light inside the inner light, something on which we have some easy access. He is the force behind our forces. O Lord of the universe, you are the creator, protector and destroyer. So something like this we have to keep on engaging ourselves, otherwise the mind will be fully preoccupied with the ephemeral, and when will we think about that? Just like just now Gandhiji said, the drop has come away from the ocean, but unless even it is forgotten, when somebody goes and tells that it belongs to the ocean, the faith gets revived, and then immediately start thinking about the majestic qualities of the ocean. Have childlike faith, he says. I would have brushed aside all rational explanations and begin with a simple childlike faith in God. If I exist, God exists. Simple thing. With me it is a necessity of my being as it is with millions. They may not be able to talk about it, but from their lives you can see that it is a part of their life. I am only asking you to restore the belief that has been undermined. In order to do so, you have to unlearn a lot of literature that dazzles your intelligence and throws you off your feet. Start with the faith, which is also a token of humility and an admission that we know nothing. We are less than atoms in the universe. We are less than atoms, I say, because the atom obeys the law of its being, whereas we, in the insolence of our ignorance, deny the law of nature. But I have no argument to address to those who have no faith. I claim to be a man of faith and prayer, and even if I were to be cut to pieces, I trust God would give me the strength not to deny Him. But to assert that He is, I am surer of His existence than of the fact that you and I are sitting in this room. Then I can also testify that I may live without air and water, but not without Him. You may pluck out my eyes, that cannot kill me. You may chop off my nose, that will not kill me. But blast my faith in God, I am dead. You may call this as a superstition, but I confess it is a superstition that I hug. Even as I used to hug the name of Rama in my childhood when there was any cause of danger or alarm. We want the steady light, the infallible light of religious faith. Not faith which merely appeals to the intelligence, but a faith which is indelibly inscribed in our heart. First we want to realize our religious consciousness, and immediately we have done that, the whole department of life is open to us. It should then be a sacred privilege of all, so that when young men grow to manhood, they may do so properly equipped to battle this life. But faith cannot be acquired by force of intellect. It comes but slowly after deep meditation and continuous practice. We pray, sing hymns, read books, seek the association of men of God, and perform the spinning sacrifice in order to attain that faith. And for that he recommends prayer and chanting. Prayer really is complete meditation and melting into the higher self. Though one occasionally does lapses into implorations like that of a child to his father, I would not call it a lapse. It is more in the fitness of things to say that I pray to God who exists somewhere in the clouds, and the more distant he is, the greater is my longing for him, and I find myself in his presence in thought. And thought, has a greater velocity than light. Therefore, the distance between me and him, though so incalculably great, is obliterated. He is so far, yet so near. He who hungers for the awakening of the divine in him must fall back on prayer. But it is not a repetition of an empty formula. It is better in prayer to have a heart without words than words without heart. It is not a repetition of an empty formula. It is better in prayer to have a heart without words than words without heart. It must be in clear response to the spirit which hungers for it. Power is no flight of eloquence. It is no lip homage. It springs from the heart. If we achieve the purity of the heart, when it is emptied of all but love, if we keep all the thoughts in proper tune, they trembling pass in music out of sight. Prayer needs no speech. I have not the slightest doubt that prayer is an unfailing means of cleansing the heart of passion. But it must be combined with utmost humility. Our prayer is a heart search. It is a reminder to ourselves that we are helpless without His support. No effort is complete without prayer, without a definite recognition that the best human endeavor is of no effect if it has not God's blessings behind it. Prayer is a call to humility. It is a call to self-purification. Real prayer is an absolute shield and protection against all evils. Success does not always attend the very first effort of such a living prayer. We have to strive against ourselves. We have to believe in spite of ourselves, because months or rather years, we are therefore to cultivate illimitable patience if we will realize the efficacy of the prayer. There will be darkness, disappointment, and even worse, but we must have courage enough to battle against all these and not succumb to cowardice. There is no such thing as retreat for a man of prayer. It may take time for the recitation to come from the heart. Even as a seed sown has to be nurtured and bears fruit only in due season. If the desire to have God within us is there, progress, however slow, is bound to be. Some consolation for all of us. It may take time for the recitation to come from the heart. Even as a seed sown has to be nurtured and bear fruit only in due season. If the desire to have God within us is there, progress, however slow, is bound to be. Man cannot be transformed from bad to good overnight. God does not exercise magic. He too is within His own law. His law, however, is different from the law of the state. There may be mistakes in the latter, but God cannot have it. If he were to go beyond the limits of his law, the world would be lost. He is changeless, unchanging, unequal, the same yesterday, today, forever. His law is written on the tablets of their hearts. They could become changed men and women only if they had the desire of reform and if they were prepared for ceaseless endeavor. I believe that prayer is the very soul and essence of religion, spirituality, and therefore prayer must be the very core of the life of man. Begin therefore your day with prayer and make it so soulful that it may remain with you until evening. Close the day with prayer so that you may have a peaceful night, free from dreams and nightmares. Do not worry about the form. Let it be any form. It should be such as can put us in communion with the divine. Only let not the spirit wander while the words of prayer run out of your mouth. Let not the spirit wander while the words of prayer run out of your mouth. Rama is the strength of the weak. And finally he comes to Rama. This strength is not to be obtained by taking up arms or similar means. It is to be had by throwing oneself on his name. Rama is but a synonym of God. But the moment you trust not but him, you are strong. Ramnam is an alchemy, such as can transform the body. The conservation of vital energy has been likened to accumulated wealth, but it is in the power of Ramnam alone to make it a running stream of ever-increasing spiritual strength, ultimately making a fall impossible. Just as the body cannot exist without blood, so the soul needs the matchless and pure strength of faith. This strength can renovate the weakness of all man's physical organs. That is why it is said that when Ramnam is enshrined in the heart, it means the rebirth of man. This law applies to the young, old, man and woman alike. Though my reason and heart long ago realized the highest attribute and name of God as truth, I recognize truth by the name of Rama. In the darkest hour of my trial, that one name has saved me and is still saving me. When as a child my nurse taught me to repeat Ramnam whenever I felt afraid or miserable, and it has been my second nature. With growing knowledge and advancing years, I may even say that the word is in my heart, if not actually on my lips, all the 24 hours. It has been my savior, and I never stayed on it. What is the mark of a man who has Rama enshrined in his heart? Such a man will take God's name with every breath. His Rama will be awake even while the body is asleep. Rama will always be with him in whatever he does. The real death for such a devoted man will be loss of the sacred companionship. A devotee of Rama may be said to be the name as the steadfast one, Sthita Prajna. He will live in the consciousness of the soul and look to the care first and last of the indweller. Such a man will take God's name with every breath. My Ram is not the historical Rama. He is the eternal, the unborn, the one without a second. Him alone I worship. I have said that to take Ramnam from the heart means deriving help from the incomparable power. The atom bomb has nothing compared with it. This power is capable of removing all pain. There is no doubt whatsoever that Ramnam contains all the power that is attributed to it. No one can, by mere wishing, enshrine Ramnam in the heart. Untiring effort is required, as also patience. What an amount of labor and patience have been lavished by men to acquire non-existent philosophers' stone. Surely God's name is of infinitely richer value. With my hand on my breast, I can say that not a minute in my life am I forgetful of God. So we all started with Papa's article, "You are not the body." And at the end we were told, so let us make use of this precious life for directing our minds entirely towards God. By this alone, we can have real happiness and peace. One more inspiring article, when we think about it.
I exist, God exists in us.
I exist because God exists. Without Him, now we are talking, there is a power behind it. Otherwise, it is a dead body without power. Do I need any more proof? That is why, the initial life, the foundation was clearly laid. Though all the cravings, infatuations, attraction for ephemeral joys were there in him, God allowed us, that embodied soul, to have all these things. But on that particular day, when he was a successful lawyer and he went to South Africa, when he was thrown out of the compartment, we went to that station. I forgot the name. Durbanella. We were there. So we went to the station. There it is written in that room how you were alone on that day, shivering. And then, that was the first start of the transformation from Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi to Mahatma Gandhi. Peter married her. When we went to the station, there was nobody there. Nobody. Absolutely zero. Only we were there. But we were able to see that I think Modi ji or Sushma Swaraj went there and opened. But we stood for some time. Everything has been written there. How the transformation. We started thinking about what is the cause behind this. But we now know that because the Aya gave him this Nam, even though he was not aware of it, it was going on, Then, then it was really a marathon journey. Non-violence, truth, love, everything started coming out of him. Then he fought for the Asiatic, but he never took to violence. His moral, ethical values were explicit in him. That changed the whole thing. So the instrumental cause was that the white people threw him out of the compartment. Otherwise, he was a successful lawyer. If we remember right, somewhere it is written that he was earning more than 6,000 rupees those days per month. Very successful lawyer. Plans and food. But how did it happen, that awakening? That is why faith, value of faith. Papa says, although we profess that we depend upon God in all matters, our faith in Him is often worth nothing. If we had real faith, we would not give ourselves away to the fears and anxieties with which we are obsessed day and night. It is faith that can bring about a wonderful change in a man's life. Where this is lacking, we shall be carried along the current of uncontrolled destiny. Man is the maker of his destiny, but he often becomes the slave of it by his own choosing it. We set a high value on public opinion and worldly recognition. If we are really earnest in attaining a perfect life in God, we ought to throw overboard all notions of spiritual social obligation, honor, anxiety, ambitions, desires, passions that crowd in the mind, and lay ourselves in all nakedness, simplicity, humility of the soul at the feet of the Divine Master, leaving Him to do with us whatever He likes. This is not preaching pessimism. This path will take us to the very root of our existence and free us from all the bondages which fetter us down to a life of ephemeral pursuits and aspirations. We have reached a stage when we must utterly give ourselves up to God and God alone. The path is no doubt a daring one. But if we would really be happy and peaceful, we have to take it with an adamantine determination. If we do not, we must not complain that our life is filled with fears and anxieties of all sorts. We must decide which course to follow, whether one of unflinching faith in God, even under the worst circumstances, or a life of turmoil and misery which we are leading at present. There is no midway. Let us not think that without faith we can achieve anything. Even God and saints are helpless to give us real relief. If we are lacking in the one essential thing, namely faith. Moko kahan hai? Kabir said, Moko kahan? Faith means self-surrender, a calm submission to the will of the Divine, and remaining thereafter at perfect peace, whatever happens. So the value of faith, that also we addressed. Again, for a quick recap, we started with the Papa's article on body. We have to keep on asserting. Though we are not belittling or denigrating the importance of body, body has given us a platform to know about the higher form of life, know about the indwelling reality. So that is why Papa said, let us make use of this precious life.
We have said, actually that marriage is our best friend, most essential. The body also most essential. Both go together.
That is why Nitya Chaitanya in his last letter he said, 75 years he has been with me, my closest friend, my body. I cannot trouble him anymore. Because an embodied self can understand, That is why God has given us His body to know Him. But by body by itself, no. We need the residence, to live. Otherwise, how will we operate? All of us need a residence, a room at least, a shelter. Otherwise, how will we exist? Under the shade of a tree at least.
Soul shelter is body.
Hoga ayatanam uchyate. Ayatanam. So the subtle body needs a gross body. And without, if only gross body is there, no. Subtle body can exist only in a gross body. We can't say only. According to our Shastras, it will again get into. But how does it get expressed? Only through the body. We worship the form only, We hear all this because somebody embodied has written, no? And somebody embodied is reading. Somebody embodied is hearing. Somebody embodied is thinking, So how can we belittle the importance of body?
All are embodied.
Embodied self. We have the images. When Papa was asked whether there is no image, that everybody is an image of God. So somehow we fill our mind with all these thoughts so that we make use of this precious life to move towards Him or to become aware of Him. Move towards Him at one level. Then we say to become aware of Him. Another level. And finally to become what we see. 5 more minutes are there. If you want to walk on the divine path, you ought to regulate the conduct of your life in such a way that you may gradually maintain in your thoughts a consciousness of the truth dwelling in you, which is also pervading everywhere. Useless frittering away of energy, especially mental, must be controlled. By a steady process of concentration on the great ideal alone, you can resist the attacks of worries and anxieties. Keep the goal of perfect peace dazzling in front of your mental vision. A deep introspection and a persevering attempt to enter into the higher and exalted consciousness of your being will enable you to raise an invincible power within yourself so that you can wield the internal and external force to your best advantage. Realize that you are the immortal and all-blissful spirit, not merely the body, which is only an ephemeral mask assumed by the spirit for its play. Dive deep within yourself to know the secret and eternal source of your existence. The way to success, peace and power lies in this direction. These are all from hints to aspirants. Even after a man is told that God resides within him, instead of seeking Him there, he runs about to get his darshan in mandirs and tirthas. In temples you worship images of stone and metal, representing some forms of God. Such Saguna worship is no doubt helpful in the early stages, but you have to go beyond and realize the Nirguna aspect also. Through form, you have to reach the formless. You have to realize God within you and see Him in all. The immortal truth is within you and within everybody. God is within you. Hold the light of an illumined intellect before Him and perform arati inside your heart. When we perform arati outside, this word should come to us. The immortal truth is within you and within everybody. God is within you. Hold the light of an illumined intellect before Him and perform arati inside your heart. So ultimately it comes back to Ram Nam. That is the only prop by which we can bring all these thoughts in our mind. That is why Papa emphasized, because that is the way he took it. Prayer also. Because we are not in a position to hold on to Ram Nam throughout. Satsang, prayer, everything we try, darshan. Somehow we have to fill our mind with God consciousness. And Gandhiji clearly defined his moral ethical laws. God is fearlessness, God is ethics and morality. So when we lead a life of moral ethical values, that helps us to know about it. Your ethics come from only Him, God has ethics God is ethics and morality. God is the source of light and life. Yet He is above and beyond all these. God is conscience and such. He is even the atheism of the atheists. He is personal God to those who need His personal presence. He is embodied to those who need His touch. He is the searcher of the heart. He knows us and our heart better than we do ourselves. He is the purest essence. He is to those who have faith. He is all things to all men. Anything can be a symbol. Anything can be a symbol. That is why Mataji said, this is Papa, this is Papa, this is Papa. Anything is it. Outwardly it is a material for us, but it is not in effect. It is a symbol. A beautiful expression. So that means whenever we handle anything, there should be a touch of gentleness, touch of love, touch of concentration, touch of dedication, touch of reverence. Nothing is unimportant, nothing is insignificant, nothing is irrelevant. Because otherwise God will not connect us with that. There should be a purpose. So suppose we try to keep on hammering, something will percolate. And it will slowly make us to link ourselves with the divine hour. So again we repeat Papa's words today. Let us make use of this precious gift of life. To know Him, to move towards Him, to become one with Him. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram